My name is Vanessa and I am an artist. I'm a performance artist. I write poems and perform them, and I'm also a visual artist. I make sculptures. And fundamentally and elementally, why I'm here today is to talk about love, because I believe in the power of love. I believe in the power of love the way that Kanye West believes in the power of himself. I believe in the power of love the way that Beyonce believes in the power of a good hair weave. If you wear it, you will be transformed. I believe in the power of love the way that Oprah Winfrey believes in the power of reading. Open up this, and it will take you to a new place. Some space you would have never engineered or imagined yourself to go. I believe in the power of love the same way that I believe in the power of my lungs, which is to say that I have both faith and proof, because I know what my lungs do. They're doing it right now. It's the reason that I'm able to stand in front of you is because of the power of my lungs, but it is also because of the power of love. When I was a little girl, I would always listen to these speeches by Martin Luther King. I would listen to these recordings. And there's this one recording that Dr. King did when he was 29 years old in Alabama in 1955. And he's giving a speech after the murder of Emmett Till, who's this 15-year-old boy who had this horrific and tragic end. And he's giving a speech in front of an audience of people who want to rage. They want to rise up and take things down. And Dr. King stands in front of this audience of people and he says, there is a power in love that the world has not discovered yet. Jesus Christ of Nazareth discovered it centuries ago. Mahatma Gandhi of India discovered it years ago. But some men and women, they will not ever discover the power of love, because they believe in an eye for an eye. They believe in hitting for hitting. They believe in hate for hate. But that is not the way. Dr. King said, someday, somewhere, someone must have sense enough, morality enough to cut off the chains of hate and evil in this universe. And the only way that we can actually do that is with love. He said, without love, our lives will just end in a spiral of destruction for everybody. He said, love is the only truly creative, redemptive, transformative power in the universe. And I would listen to Dr. King say this, and I would listen to the sound of his voice, and I would think, something's happening to me when I hear the very sound of his voice. And I believe what he's saying. I believe in the power of love. So for years in my life, I would think, I believe in the power of love. And I would go places, and I would repeat it to people. And I would say, I believe in the power of love. I believe in the power of love. But I never really knew what it meant. I never really understood what I could do with love or how love could manifest. But I'm an artist. I spend time in a studio, in a basement, in Homewood, making sculptures that I call power figures. And the sculptures I was making in my studio were getting too big for the basement, so I had to bring them out of my studio and put them on my front porch. And I would work on my front porch, which is at the corner where there's a bus stop. And so people would stand at my fence and they would watch me make sculptures. And all of the adults would look at my sculptures and they would say, what is that? That's so weird. Some adults would say, it's actually a little scary. And I would say, okay, that's fair. And they would stand at the fence and watch me work. And kids would stand at the fence, only kids weren't looking at what I was making. They were watching me do the making. And kids would look at me and they would say, why are you so dirty? What you making that got you so dirty? And can I help you? And I would always say, no, you can't help me. Isn't there a park you could go to? Aren't you supposed to be home doing arithmetic? Come on now. And so I would tell them no, but the kids would insist, and I would always say no. And they would swing on my fence. You know how kids are, you get to swing on the fence? They would swing on the fence, and the kids got strategic. They would swing on the fence and then land in my front yard. And they would say, oh, Miss Vanessa, we landed in your front yard, right by this paintbrush. Can I help you? And I would say, yeah, no, you can't help me because I'm at work right now. I'm an artist, and this is the work that sustains my life. This is what pays the gas bill. You cannot help me, but you can do your own thing. So I pulled out all of these old paints and paintbrushes and cardboard and bricks and slate from the demolished houses up the street. And I said, here you go. You work, and I'm gonna work over here. And the kids would look at all these materials and they'd be like, but what am I supposed to do? And I was like, listen, no, this isn't a class. I'm working. You have to work. You have to make a decision. You have all these materials in front of you right now. It's what you wanted. It's why you threw yourself over my fence. You got to make a decision. You need to start with a color and a purpose. You need to think of your favorite color, and then you need to decide what you want to make. And they would do that. And they would say, okay, I got it. I like pink. I'm going to start. But then something happened that I didn't expect. Kids would see their friends get off the school bus, walking up the street, and they would stop their friends, and they would say, hey, you want to make some art today? Go home, put on your play clothes, and come back, and I'll show you what to do. So while I was over here working, kids would invite their friends into my front yard, and they would repeat the same thing that I just told them. They would say, listen, you need to make a decision. You need to choose a color and a purpose. What do you want to make today? And so I'm sitting over here working on my sculpture thinking, oh, it worked. They listened. And that's when I had this moment about all these years of my life repeating a Dr. King speech saying, there is a power in love that the world has not discovered yet. I believe in the power of love. I had a moment on my front porch watching kids make decisions about their own imaginations and creative expressions. I said, oh, I get it now. This is love. And I know that it's love because I'm an artist, and when I'm making art, I am the very best human that I can be. I'm better to my mind, my body, and my spirit. My thoughts come clearer. I am better with time management. When I'm in my studio working, I am perfected as a human being in these moments. And I recognize that as love. And I recognize that I am fortunate to spend as much time of my life as possible in an environment where I am ensconced internally and externally in love. But what I realize in this moment on my front porch is that by sharing what I love, which is art, I have shared the love itself. And when Dr. King said that love is creative, understanding, redemptive, transformative goodwill, I saw that living inside of these young people. And I knew that I was sharing more than just paintbrushes. I was sharing more than just the tools of the art. I was sharing something that would allow these young human beings to expand creatively, to be as dimensionally human as they could be in an environment that is so oppressive, that suffers and traumatizes them so much. They are actually actualizing and expanding their own humanity because they're making creative decisions. They're saying, what do I want to make? What do I want to do? And they're saying, what if? They're saying, what if we draw a neighborhood that is organized entirely by love? I had a kid come to me one day and he said, Miss Vanessa, I want to paint the night sky with stars. And I said, okay, I help you paint the night sky with stars. That's cool. I can do that. And then we get an old board, from a house that gets torn down, and we paint the sky and we paint the earth. And then I show him how you can paint a bird by just painting a V with little curves at the end. And I said, okay, so now you can put birds in your sky with your stars. And he was like, no, I don't think that that's going to be a bird. And I said, yeah, it will. He's like, but I don't want to, it's going to mess up my painting. I don't want to try it. And I was like, you got to try it. You got to trust yourself. And I said, you got to do that. And so say you trust yourself. And he says, I trust myself. And a 4-year-old who's also on my front porch, because my front yard would fill up with kids. 4-year-old looks at him and says, I don't believe you. And I stand back because I was like, something about to happen. 4-year-old says, I don't believe you. Kid says, you should say that again. And they're looking at each other, this 11-year-old and this 4-year-old. And the kid goes, I trust myself. The kid next to Ra-Ra, the 4-year-old, says, I don't believe you, but I'll say it with you. And so they say together, I trust myself. And then all of the kids start to say, I trust myself. I trust myself. And I'm standing back and I realize, yes, this is love. It is alive inside of them without direction. I'm watching love do what love does best, which is make more spaces for love to happen. So Dr. King, all these years ago, 1955, Alabama, horrible crisis, stands in front of this audience and says, I believe in the power of love. He says, and I believe that through the power of this love, we can make one another better. We can make of our old places new places. And then he drops the bomb of all bombshells. He stands in front of the audience and he says, as I look into your eyes and into the eyes of all of my brothers and sisters across Alabama and through the world, I stand before you today and I say to you, I love you. And then he said, I would rather perish than to hate you. And I am foolish enough to believe that through the power of this love, men of the most recalcitrant bent shall be transformed. Shall be transformed. And so I knew that having made space for love by sharing the thing that I loved the most, by creating an environment where young people were imagining and making worlds where they could be as expansively human as is their soul and spiritual birthright, I knew that I was making more love and that any challenge that came before me, I could also meet it with love, which is what I've had to do. Because I'm sitting on my porch one day and I hear 14 gunshots around the corner, 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the school buses are getting out. And I start saying, they should do something about that. They should make sure that that never happens again. They should make it safer here for our kids. And I had another moment on this porch that I've now started to call Love Front Porch. And the moment was, oh, there is no they. There's me, right here, right now, in this moment. And if I want to do something about it, then I have to be brave enough and courageous enough to rise inside of the love that I have seen, the love that I have faith and proof in. So I made these signs that say, stop shooting, we love you. And it seems like such a simple thing. But I have these kids tell me, that's such a waste of ink. It's such a waste of plastic. Nobody's going to believe that. But I said, isn't it worth it? They were like, it's ridiculous. And I'm like, aren't you worth it, a ridiculous idea? Aren't you worth this ridiculous, brave, creative idea that could save your life or could save the life of somebody you know? Aren't you worth the chance that someone could see a sign that says, stop shooting, we love you, and instead of turning left to go to a park to do something horrible, they'll turn right because at that instant they see that sign. They see the light of their little sister's eyes or their mother or their grandmother, and they just make a different decision. Aren't you worth that? I would say that to kids and there'd be silence. And I would tell you, actually, yes, you are worth that much love. Creative, understanding, redemptive goodwill. When Dr. King said, I love you, he was saying that I believe in you. I believe in your power of creative, understanding, redemptive, transformative goodwill. And I believe in the power of love for this reason, because this is what will be our next human revolution. All of these small moments where we give each other second chances and we step out and become as brave and courageous as the life that is already inside of us. So as I stand before you today, I say to you, I love you. I would rather die than to hate you. And I believe that through the power of this love, we shall all be transformed. Thank you.